What's up, y'all? I want to get into picking winners Sun Tzu style. All right. Now, you've heard a lot of people tell you how to pick winners over the years, I'm sure. There's lots of tricks out there, there's lots of strategies out there, but I want to tell you how Sun Tzu would do it. And how do I know? Because, in Sun Tzu's Art of War, he breaks down how to pick out the winners of a battle. So, I'm going to translate that over as to how you can use that in sports. In horse racing, you can do it in boxing, basketball, football. I'm sure you could do it in anything. But let me go ahead and break this down for you real quick here, because we want to keep this one short. And I wanted to make this all in one video, but it's obviously, since I started looking at it, it's going to be too long. Because Sun Tzu, he breaks everything down all the way down to the most minute detail. And that's how people who read this book come up with victories. So, without further ado, here is what Sun Tzu says are the 7 things that he uses to determine who's going to win. All right. Now, this is in chapter 1, verse 13 of Sun Tzu's Art of War. So, let me turn over here real quick. Chapter 1 is entitled Laying Plans. Okay, verse 13. Number 1. Which of the 2 sovereigns is imbued with the moral law? Okay, the moral law. You know what that is in sports? That's the rules. Which ones are more in tune with the rules? They know the rules. They know the laws of how to play in basketball, in football. Which of the coaches understands the rules the best? Now, number 2. Which of the 2 generals has the most ability? Now, ability, you could say, is subjective. It's not really, though. Sun Tzu breaks it down in a different chapter of the book, so I'd have to make a separate video on that one, and that's going to be part of this series. But yes, which one has the most ability? Now, sometimes it's pretty obvious who's got more ability than the other guy. And the one has much more ability than the other, that's definitely going to be an indicator in picking a winner. I mean, American Pharaoh was just better than those other horses. He was bigger, stronger, faster. He had a pretty soft ride in most of the races he ran in. He did get beat off of a bad decision, but he was just a stronger, better, faster horse. That's why he was so successful. I mean, you could say that about a lot of horses. They just had what it took to be able to beat the competition, and they did it easily. They made it look easy. You say that with teams like the New England Patriots, the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. When the Heat went together and they got, LeBron and Wade and Bosh, and they stacked up all those other people on top of it. Same thing with the Warriors. We just seen what the Warriors done, and it wasn't until they had the injuries, which I think ultimately doomed them. But, when they were all healthy out there and firing on all cylinders, I mean, everybody in the world knew they were undefeatable or going to win the championship. So that's what we mean by looking at more ability. I mean, same thing with fighters. Some fighters, they just have more ability, just like Floyd Mayweather. I'm not a huge Mayweather fan, but he made a big deal out of making sure that he fought people that had less ability than him. That's pretty much why he's undefeated. He didn't fight anybody that had as much ability as him. Not even Conor McGregor. He's a great fighter in the octagon, but in the ring, he had no idea what he's doing. I mean, that's what Floyd Mayweather does. So, yeah, he probably read this book at some point too, or one of his trainers did, or his father or uncle did. But that's what we talk about when we talk about more ability. When one's obviously got more ability than the other one, that's a definite indicator it's probably going to be a win for that one. Next, with whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth? Now, heaven and earth, I know what you're thinking. No, that's not what we're talking about. Earth is the ground conditions you're dealing with. Heaven is the weather conditions you're dealing with. So, you want to talk about, are you playing football on grass or on turf? Are you running a horse race on dirt or on turf? And what are the conditions? Is it sloppy? Is it muddy? Is it fast? That's heaven and earth, all right? Heaven and earth is the ground conditions and the weather conditions, and you mix that together and you try to figure out what you're going to do. You change your football game plan because, hey, it's snowing this time. So which team is better and which coach is better at adjusting the game plan to what the conditions of the game are? That's always important. That's an indicator you want to look at when you want to pick a winner. Same thing. If there's a jockey that knows that because of the conditions of the track that he should run the race a little bit differently than a normal strategy had the track been fast, the better jockeys do that kind of thing. That's what you want to look for in a winner. All right. Next, we're going to move on here to number 4. On which side is discipline most rigorously enforced? This one speaks for itself. Discipline's everything. There's a reason that guys like Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick and guys out of that tree, Sean Payton, they win all the time. They got, I don't know, I haven't counted, but they probably got about a third of the football championships, the Super Bowls. And if you throw in Vince Lombardi, which Bill Parcells technically came out of the Vince Lombardi coaching tree, they probably have about half the Super Bowls, or probably more than that. So enacting discipline and rules throughout the ranks is something that definitely creates wins. So that's something you want to look at, whether you're looking at a fighter or looking at a trainer for a horse, or a football or basketball team. Same thing. It all applies. All right. Next one is which army is stronger. All right. The strength and conditioning is always going to be a key issue. It's not everything. Now remember, these are 7 things, but some people think that strength and conditioning is everything. But no, you can have a bunch of big, dumb, strong idiots out there and lose. There's a lot of football teams that do that all the time. So strength and conditioning is definitely something you want to consider. And that also includes your stamina. Not only how strong you are for the beginning of the fight, but how long you can withstand it too. So that's all a big part of strength and conditioning. So that's something else. That's another point there. Number 5 is something you want to look at when you're picking a winner. Now, number 6, on which side are officers and men more highly trained? Training is everything. That's what I was saying about the strength and conditioning. You can get strong and train your body to be strong and have a lot of stamina, but if you don't train in the skill that you're trying to accomplish, it's not going to do you any good. That's why so many weightlifters are not good at football, because they're great at weightlifting, not at playing football. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Which one trains and practices the most and the best? Some people practice a lot and they don't do productive practices. So which one has the best training throughout the ranks? And that's what I say. Usually the fighter that trains the best is usually going to win. Now, next one we got here, the last one, number 7. In which army is there greater constancy both in reward and punishment? That says a whole lot right there. Greater constancy in reward and punishment. You can't have leaders that play favorites. If you have leaders that play favorites, it creates an army that's not willing to fight. And he breaks that down later in here, and that'll be forthcoming. But you create an army that is not willing to fight. They think you're confused and you don't know what you're doing. A lot of you out there, you probably think this about your boss. You must enact discipline equally throughout the ranks. You reward equally, you punish equally. Because if you don't do that, when it comes down to it, the army that you face that does that is going to beat you. They're going to beat you every time because you're going to have weak links. You're going to have low morale. Your people aren't going to want to get the job done, and you're going to get run over by people that do. So, that's it for this one right here. I really want to get into it more, but I could talk forever about Sun Tzu's Art of War. I recommend you pick up a copy. This one was $5 here. I got it at Barnes & Noble. So, pick up a copy. You can also go online and get it for free. You can go ahead and Google it, or you can go on YouTube here and pull up an audio book. So I suggest you check it out, but it's really something I like to read because I like to mark it up and take notes because it's a whole lot of good information. This has been around for hundreds of years. hundreds of years, and lots of people out there that are successful in competitive atmospheres have read this book. And so that's why I was inclined to read it several years back. I've referred back to it several times. And, it's a lot of good wisdom in this one. So that's it on this first version, or first volume of Picking Winners Sun Tzu Style. Now, next I'm going to get into breaking down how you come about what all these things mean. What do you mean ability? What do you mean moral law? What do you mean heaven and earth? What do you mean discipline? All these things, constancy. It's a bunch of words, but some people don't really know exactly what it means specifically. So I'm going to show you how Sun Tzu breaks it down and how you can use that to help yourself pick winners. But that's the way. And let me sum up right here. I'm going to give you the 7 again before we cut it off here. Number 1, the moral law, which is the rules. Who knows the rules the best? 2, who's got the most ability? 3, who has the advantages of heaven and earth, which are the weather and the conditions? The stadium, the city, all those things matter. Number 4, discipline. Who's got the most disciplined squad? Number 5, strength. Who's the strongest and best conditioned? Number 6, training. Who trains the best? Who trains the best at the skills? Not only in strength, but in skill. And number 7, constancy in punishment and reward. Who treats their army fairly and who treats their army with favorites? You can look around. This happens in basketball all the time. The teams with ball hogs generally don't win the championship. They've got to play some team ball to win. So thanks for tuning in, and keep an eye out for the conclusion to this one. I'm going to make a couple of these. It's probably going to take about 3-4 videos maybe to get it all done. But that's the beginning here of Picking Winners Sun Tzu Style.